Yes, hello friends, welcome to BISP Solutions. Myself Ashwin, and BISP Solutions is a tech company provide technological solutions across the world, and this is our day 27. In our last 26 days we have seen so many things. We have learned a lot related to what is BA, business analyst, and we know it's a domain specific task, and how to create the BRD, how to create the FRD. We have seen all these things, right? Related to Python also we have learned. Now today again I am going to show you handling data migration and integration requirement in NetSuite. Now see, this is data migration is the part which comes after the customization, the suite builder, all these things are done, right? That BRD is done, FRD is done, everything is done. Now when the application is completely ready to use, when we have done the testing with the raw data, when we have done testing with the test case data, everything testing is also done, and the user has given us, the client has given us the sign off that UAT is successful. Now at this time, now the question arises, okay, now transfer our migration data, right? Historical data, migrate our historical data. Now this point, now this is some critical task. In this, let me give you an overview. First of all, migration, in this migration there are some steps. Those steps are something like this. Let me show you here only. Like migrate, take data from database administrator of the client, then examine the data, right? Examine the data. After that, clean and massage if required, right? And then let me make it from here, right? Don't write here, like this, okay? And then migrate first metadata. Now metadata consists of COA, chart of accounts, vendor data, customer data, employee data, item data. These are called the what we say, the metadata, because they are independent. Transaction data is dependent data. So after this metadata is uploaded, then the transaction data is uploaded, okay? So this is how the process. Now let's come to our slide here. Introduction, why migration and integration matters. Every NetSuite implementation involves data migration from legacy system, right? Now for the last 20 years, whatever the data they might be, whatever the application they might be using, that is called the legacy system, from there to NetSuite. Secondly, integration. Now this is a case, not necessarily it applies on every project. For example, if one client says that, okay, we do not want to retire our previous application, we will keep on running on both. You do one thing, integrate our Python application or CRM application or Salesforce application with our NetSuite. This is what the requirement is, okay? Some client, they retire their legacy system completely and they completely was started on NetSuite. But suppose, now why this requirement comes, because see, in a company there are few employees which are habitual with old system, right? And they are not that much technically fit or technically sound to adapt with the NetSuite. So the company decides that, okay, we will not retire that previous system also, we will keep on working on that. And one another reason is that there are some facilities in that previous legacy system that they have developed for the last few years. So there could be any reason for that. So in that case, integrating applications, right? So these are the two different things, and these things will be done with the help of our technical team. Now here, why I have shown you this planning: take data from database administrator of the client, examine the data, clean and massage if required, and migrate first metadata. The reason is that suppose if we don't do any planning, so it will cause in broken reports, data loss and audit issues, because when we directly lift and shift, right, we directly lift and move that data into the NetSuite, it might cause error also. So that is why there is a process, standard process, right? So that is why there is a process, and this is the planning. This is what the planning is done, that we will do first this. Now see here, BA ensures clean, consistent and mapped data plus well documented integration flow. Now this thing is done, but after that we have to prepare a complete flow, process flow diagram also. And what is process flow diagram, I have already explained you in our few sessions, so I suggest you to watch those sessions. In that I have completely explained you that how the process flow diagram is prepared and why it is necessary. Again I am telling you, writing stepwise points will be helpful for the technical team, but overall design of a process flow diagram will be helpful for the functional consultant. Now that's why the functional consultant requires that flow chart. Now here you will see, okay, the business analyst ensures clean, consistent and mapped data plus well documented integration flow, everything is done. Now let's see here, BA role in data migration planning. Now data migration planning, what does a BA needs to do in data migration planning, right? So I am showing you one scenario that we have to migrate the data of the sales order from legacy system to NetSuite, right? So let's take one example here, migration planning of what? Metadata plus transaction data from legacy to NetSuite. That's it. Okay, now this is our plan. So first of all, identify the source system. Now source system, legacy system, it could be SAP, it could be Tele ERP, it could be any ERP, right? Then identify, actually there is nothing identification in the beginning of the project, only the client will tell you that we are working on this application for the last 20 years. Okay, now work with client to list data entities. Now see here, as I shown you, this is called the metadata, right? This is called metadata. Now this metadata, you have to, the business analyst has to work with the client that what type of information is used in your complete transaction data. So they will tell you one by one, okay, customers, vendors, items, chart of accounts, all these things. So the business analyst has to first identify which one is the metadata and which one is the transaction data, correct? Now after that, here is the transaction data, SOPO, invoice, payments, right? See this, see this, yes, okay. Now see here, we have identified the customers, vendors, that is the metadata. Now we have identified the transaction data, SOPO, invoice, payments, etc., right? All these things are done. Now what needs to be migrated? Now actually this is you can ask with the client, okay, what needs to be migrated, but it is already clear that historical complete data, metadata plus transaction data. And from which period? This is the most important question. From which period? That means we will upload your data or migrate your data for the last 2 years, right? That is our in scope task that we will upload or migrate your data for the last 2 years only, right? Now after that, determine migration cutoff date, okay, and then open balances and historical transactions. Now you have to determine exactly the cutoff date, migration cutoff date, then open balances versus historical transaction. Now here you have to first tell them, okay, by this date we will do it. Now I remember in one of my project there were so many transaction data, and there was so much of the customers and clients were there, so it took like 6 to 7 months to migrate the whole data. Why? The reason is that first they migrated all the metadata first, and in first attempt or 2 attempt, many times what happens, whatever the Excel sheets they provided, it contains so many blank cells. That is why I have written here clean and massage the data if required. See what happens, many times for the last 20 years they have been using any ERP, right? Now during the use of that ERP, what all those asterisks and underscores, everything, it is our duty. What happens? So we have to first of all we have to cleanse and massage the data, right? And we have to map the fields also. Now what is this mapping field? Now see, let me tell you about mapping of fields. See, in their legacy system, suppose customer's name is like customer underscore name, that is the ID of the field, and in NetSuite customer means entity. So in one Excel sheet you have to do something like this. In one Excel sheet, let me show you this mapping. Like customer underscore name, and this will be mapped with entity in entity, and this is the source, and here is the target. And yes, okay, this is how we have to, like for example phone, right, ph, right, and here it will be mapped with like contact, fax, fax number, right? So this is called mapping of files, mapping of fields, that which field will be mapped with which field of the NetSuite. And this is a complete Excel sheet that you need to prepare, that is business analyst task, okay? That is why here it is written here, assistant creating open balance, historical transaction, and the migration strategy documentation, right? Assistant creating migration strategy document. Now see, what will be your strategy, that you have to prepare a document also in that how we will do this, because in every stand-up meeting you have to show your plan and strategy to the client also, right? So this is how we prepare the plan. Now here, migration requirement documentation, okay? So documents that BA prepares or the business analyst needs to prepare for this documentation. Now see, previously also I have been telling you, there is no fixed format or fixed count of the documentation. In one project you may create 10 documents or 15 documents, in another you might create 16 or 17. There is, it depends on the requirement, and the depends on the client also, right? So you have to prepare the documentation based on the requirement. Now suppose if you see here in this data migration strategy documentation, after that, suppose if the data is migrated, then how did you validate the data? For that also you have to prepare a document, because in case in future that will be a proof that we have done the validation also with proper standards, okay? So that is why. Now see here, migration requirement document. Now document that BA prepares, that means BA is supposed to prepare what type of documents? First of all, master sheet, migration master sheet, source field, NetSuite fields. This is what I have shown you few minutes back. This source field and NetSuite field. Look at this versus NetSuite field. Okay. Data format, expectations, date, currency, text, whatever currency or whatever the date format you want to use. Okay. So here normally YMD is the MDY, month, date, year, is the standard format used in America, and here in India DMY, date, month, year is used, right? So this is the different format. So you have to make it clear from the client that exactly what date format you have to use. Then the currency, and then the text font, whatever. Okay. Now field mapping document. Look at this again, same thing. Field mapping document, source field, target field, and data type of the format. You can do it like this also. Text, okay, number, okay. This is what the BA has to make it everything crystal clear and perfectly aligned. Now source field and target field, mapping field, right? So here is the field mapping document you need to create. Migration master sheet means source fields and versus NetSuite, whatever the source field are there in the legacy system and whatever the fields are there in the NetSuite system. Okay, what strategy you will follow? Okay, now data type, transformation logic. Transformation logic means state names, currency conversion, right, if it is required. Otherwise, now if you see data load sequence, step by step order, COA, customer, items, and then transaction. That is what I told you. First migration, the metadata. This is what the metadata, COA, customers, right? So items. So this is the metadata. So you have to first upload the metadata, and then finally the last sequence is transaction. Okay. Then validation checklist. Now you have to prepare one checklist also. Now what is that checklist? Checklist means, yes, okay. Now this is what preload and postload. Okay. After this, let's come to the next slide, that is BA role. Now BA role in NetSuite integration requirement. Now this was all about the migration. See, the role of the BA is to prepare a set of documents like migration master sheets, then the field mapping document, then the data load sequence, and the validation checklist. These are some necessary topics that the BA has to include in the documents. After that, the BA role in NetSuite integration requirements. Now integration, as I told you that integration is done with another application in those cases where the client does not want to retire the legacy system. Okay, it will not, the client does not want to retire the legacy system. They want to keep running both the systems, both the applications simultaneously. So whatever the sales order created in the legacy system, it should automatically be pulled into the NetSuite. That is what their requirement is. And here comes the role of integration of NetSuite with other application, right? So BA role in NetSuite integration requirements. First step, identify integration needs. What is the need of integration? Exactly what do you want? Why do you want the integration? Now, does the client use external CRM, e-commerce platform, or payment gateway? What type of integration do you want? See, I have given you one example, but integration is not like of only one type. Integration can be payment gateway integration. Integration can be e-commerce platform integration, external CRM integration, anything. Okay, or it could be a website integration also. website to NetSuite integration. So integration is not like only one type of integration. There could be different integrations. Now first step is to identify integration needs. Exactly what do you want, why do you want this integration? Does the client uses external CRM? Are you using something else? So they will give you the details. Okay, we need to connect the payment gateway also, right? So now this payment gateway, again the technical team needs to work on it, and then it's a little time consuming, because again the payment gateway will be integrated with that. Then you have to take the API of that particular bank also. So all these things are completely technical. So BA just needs to have a look on this all process. Okay, now list all systems that needs to talk to NetSuite. This is most important. List of all systems that needs to talk to NetSuite. For example, suppose a company is using like the Python application for the last 20 years. Now that application, if that application you want that as soon as the sales order is created in that application, immediately the sales order should be pulled into the NetSuite. That means here there should be a connectivity or the communication between these two applications. That is what it is written here. List all systems that needs to talk to NetSuite. Then integration requirement details. Now data direction, one way or two way. Now one way or two way means what exactly? For example, one way or two way, suppose in let's take a scenario, a company is using Python application and the NetSuite is now implemented in their company. Now if the company say that whatever the sales order created in during the whole day, in the evening they should be pulled into the NetSuite. Now after from here, whether we will approve it, we will go up to the invoice, there should be no display on the Python application. That means whatever we have done with that sales order, so only we know that whatever is, it will be reflected only into the NetSuite. That is called one way data direction. Sales order is coming from Python to NetSuite. And two way means, for example, if a sales order is created into the Python application and then it is pulled into the NetSuite. Now after that the sales supervisor approve it, then again this data should be reflected into the Python application. That means it's a two way, right? So that is why one way or two way. That means how much data traveling do you want, right? Then after that, trigger type. Now real time trigger type, scheduled or manual. Now what does that mean? Let me show you. Trigger type means what? For example, in one of my project, it was a hotel management project related. So the client says that for the whole day, whatever the business was done, we want that our one person will upload the Excel sheet into a certain folder, and for the whole night NetSuite will get the time to upload that complete data. Now for this we have to create a scheduled script. That is what it is written here, scheduled batch, right? Technical language is little different. I have told you that scheduled script, yes, it is scheduled script. That is the technical language, technical term. But here we will say to the client that okay, we will schedule your batch, but before 9 PM your employee must upload all those Excel sheet into this given folder, not any other folder, this particular given folder, right? Secondly, real time. Now trigger type, if as soon as the sales order is created, if you want any action to be done in the real time. Then manual means one person will enter the data in this NetSuite also and the application also. So this scheduled is the best way, scheduled process. Okay, so for the whole day whatever business is done in the Excel sheet format, the person will just upload the sheet, Excel sheet, before 9 PM, and then after 9:30 PM immediately that scheduled script will executed, and that script will run accordingly, whatever is asked to do so. So in this way this is how we identify the trigger point. Okay, then API or file based. Now see, there are two things. If I say that as soon as the sales order is created, and it should automatically be pulled into the NetSuite in the real time, so that is called API based. And file based means for the whole day, whatever the business is done, your employee or the client employee has to upload that file on a folder, in a folder before 9 p.m. and at sharp at 10 p.m. one script will execute and it will take all files one by one. After that, you don't need to do anything. After 9 p.m. do not touch the application. Okay, so this is called API or file based integration. So the business analyst has to make it clear also, right? And for this business analyst, a little bit technical knowledge is also required, right? So now, volume of data, daily or hourly. Suppose if you chose to upload the data like real time or manually, so you have to also make it clear, weekly data or daily data, whatever the data you want to enter, first make these things clear. Okay, so guys, this is clear to you. NetSuite integration requirement. What are the requirements, right, of the BA role? As a BA, what things needs to be required in a BA role? Okay, so let's come to the next slide here. Now, BA deliverables in integration project. Now, what the BA should deliver? First of all, integration flow diagram. Now see, there are so many tools available in the in the internet, right? And based on those tools, you can create whatever document you want, right? Now see here, whatever the deliverables of the business analyst. First, integration flow diagram. See, when I am asked to integrate the system, so I have to first prepare a flow chart or the diagram. See here, I am giving you one example. This is just an example right now. Look at this. If I make it, first have a look on the design first, right? Actually, it's a hotel management. It was taken from a hotel management order process module, right? Dinner order process module, right? Now see here, first of all, start, then waiter takes the order is submitted along with table number and waiter name. Then now it becomes the KOT visible to the cashier and a buyer. Now after this, look at this, after 15 minutes the chef prepared and now handed over to the pickup boy. Now, is cooked properly? If yes, and if no, the item will be discarded and new item again prepared. So in this way, you have to prepare a high level flow diagram, whether the task is any like integration, or we can say the migration task, any task, data flow diagram or the process flow diagram makes your work more easier to understand. Okay, now there are so many. This application is called like draw.io. You can see this, right? So this is a, look at this here it is written top left. Okay, now here one draw.io application is there. There is one more application, Visio, in Outlook. If you take the subscription of Outlook, there is one more facility. So source, middleware, NetSuite and vice versa. So you have to prepare a plan, integration flow diagram exactly. Okay, then you will have to prepare the specification of API requirements. That means API requirement specification, endpoint methods and then the authentication and the headers. So API requirement specification you have to provide. Then field mapping sheet. This is the field mapping sheet. Which field is associated with what? Okay, this is what, right? Then you will see external and NetSuite field reference, right? Then you will see here error handling rules. What happens when sync fails? Now we are having one more option. If the sync is failed, then what we will do? We will upload again, right? Then retry mechanism or email alerts. Okay, that is fine. After that, sample payload. Sample payload means JSON, XML examples for development team. See, the development team, they know the coding part, right? They are not concerned with whatever the documents you are doing, you are writing, or you are exchanging with each other. They just know what they need to prepare and what will be the format, or what format you have provided them. Okay, so that is what the sample payloads. Okay, now see here, testing. Now let's come to the testing and sign off part. Now once we have done the migration, right, within the 2 or 3 months we have done their complete migration. After the migration and during this migration, there are so many tasks were involved, like after metadata transaction is imported, then which one? Sales order, and sales order also which one? Closed or open sales order. Invoices also which one? Closed or open invoices, right? The difference is that the sales order, suppose if it is a it's an open, it's a open means the shipping is not done yet and the item is not received to the customer, and closed means the item is received by the customer and the payment is also done by the customer, everything is done. So that is also called a closed sales order. So in this way, testing and sign off. So during the testing also you have to be very careful. Mock migration cycle with sample data. Okay, mock migration cycles with sample data. First create some sample data and then migrate them. Then coordinate UAT of migration and integration. Now coordinate UAT of migration and integration. So migration and integration will both work at the same time. And what you need to validate? Record, count, match. Okay, data accuracy, field level mapping. Now see, data first of all, record, count, match. How many records? For example, in their customers list only 100 customers are there, and from here you have, after uploading, only 50 to 60 customers were uploaded. Now where those 40 customers go, right? So where did they go? So in this way you have to validate, record, count, match. Counting also you have to match. If 100 customers Excel sheet is given, then 100 customers should be visible into the NetSuite. So that is called record, count, match. Data accuracy. Now this data accuracy, means whatever the date format, right, whatever the measuring unit, like that. After that, field level mapping. Yes, right. So field level mapping will also be done. Now get client sign off on final data load, right? Get client sign off on the final data load and maintain cutover plan and rollback checklist. Correct. So get client sign off on final data load. So final, once you load the data, you have to take the sign off from the client also that okay, they have done the task well, and whatever the data is uploaded, that is perfect. Okay, so get client sign off, and after that maintain cutover plan and rollback checklist if needed. Okay, maintain cutover plan and rollback. Now finally you will see here the summary part. So what we have learned with this today's session. In this today's session we have seen, first of all let's take a quick recap here. In this today's session we have seen exactly what the client wants to do: data migration with integration also, or only migration, or only integration, first part. Then what you need to do, first of all identify which data is the metadata and which data is the transaction data. So just bifurcation of the document. Then we proceed further that what is the requirement of the migration. So we have identified, okay, these are our points, and whatever these points is, we will go accordingly. Okay, so master migration master sheet, then the field mapping document, then the data load sequence, right, data load sequence, and the validation checklist. Now BA role in NetSuite integration requirement, same thing, right, external CRM, whatever does the client use. Then after that here deliverables, what BA needs to deliver, okay, what BA needs to deliver. After that testing and mock migration cycle. Okay, now get client sign off. After this, finally the summary is like business analysts are key to clean successful migration integration. See, everything depends on the business analyst and you all just need to do only one thing, that improve your writing skills, right? So if your writing skills is good, so with the help of that skills we can prepare as many documents. So documentation requires the writing skills also. So BA are the key to clean success migration and integration. Must gather source data, target structure, and the transformation logic. Okay, then use mapping sheets, validation plans, and integration flow diagrams, and it is mandatory. And ensure full end-to-end testing and sign off. Yes, okay. And then tools like Excel, the Jira, the Confluence, the Postman, right? So this is how we completely perform end-to-end implementation, right? But right now here only handling the data migration. Okay, so guys, okay, so what you need to do, you just need to first review my watch my previous videos, and then this will be easy for you, right? So guys, today we are closing the session here only, because and in our next topic we will see some other topic, right, in our next session. And also I recommend you to watch this video again and again in one attempt. If it is not clear, then kindly go through second time also, right? So watch this video again and then make it clear everything, and if you have any doubt you can put it into the comment box, right? I will resolve your queries. So thank you guys, thanks for attending today's session. Thank you. And those who have not subscribed my channel, please like and subscribe the channel. Okay guys, thank you, thanks for attending the webinar. Thank you.